Chagigah. We are on that base and a lot of interesting stuff today, I must tell you. First of all, before we begin the next segment, let me tell you that there's a basic malchogas here between the Yerushalmi and the Bavli. The Yerushalmi holds that a katan is chayev to come to the Beis HaMikdash on regalim. He's not chayev to bring korbanos. He can't really bring korbanos because he doesn't own anything, but he must come to the Beis HaMikdash. The Bavli does not hold that way. The Bavli holds a katan does not go to the Beis HaMikdash. The one time there's a chiyuv of katan is by hakel, but even then it's a chiyuv on the parents to bring him. But here it's a chiyuv on the katan, as it says on the top line of that Beis Amud Aleph. V'amru kol schurcha, chos v'amru kol schurcha l'rabos esakatan. Kol schurcha teaches you that even ketanim are chayev. Okay, they're chayev in the mitzvah of coming to riyas panim, meaning to be seen in the Beis HaMikdash on Yom Tov. And that's a monumental chiddush because this is the only mitzvah in the Torah, at least that I'm aware of, offhand, that ketanim are actually chayev in. You see that? The ketanim are chayev in the mitzvah.
And this is more than just chinuch.
Yeah, it's more than chinuch, right? Because it's not for chinuch. It's a Torah mitzvah. It's not a Dorabaran. So this is a very basic Yerushalmi opinion. So let's take it from there. Chaz and Rama, they said the top line of base. Chaz and Rama, they returned to say kol schurcha l'rabbis got to comes to include minors. V'yemar kol schurcha l'rabbis is a cherish. I know we did this yesterday, but it really continues on. V'yemar kol schurcha, let's say kol schurcha does not come to include minors, but rather to include either deafs or mutes, not necessarily deaf mutes. We said yesterday the cherish can mean either deaf or mute, not both. That doesn't have to be necessarily both. So no, that cherish we don't include. Why? Because l'mani yishmu l'mani yilamdu, to hear and to teach. Probably cherish, either one of the types of deaf the people who are cherish, either deafs or mutes, because they either cannot hear or cannot see, cannot teach, or both. Okay. V'yemar, so let's say l'mani yishmu l'mani yilmadun, to hear to teach probably katan excludes a katan who's not yet of the age of understanding and imparting what he learns. Rabbi Yisrael said, look, it's like a shnei ksula machish mizeh zeh. I told you last night, two psukim which contradict each other, so we have to reconcile the two. How do we reconcile the two? So it says the Gemara, one includes, that's kol schurcha. One precludes or excludes, that's l'man yishmu l'man yilmadu. So, Marbani is a katan. I include a katan shuroi lover lachazman. A katan is there's a superior logic compelling us to include a katan because a katan can come eventually to the chiyuv. In other words, eventually he'll be shomeh and loimed. Right now he doesn't have full faculties to hear and to teach, but eventually he will. So therefore he's included. I preclude a cheresh, a deaf or mute fellow, he's never going to come to the capacity to teach or to learn. Shmuel Barabba Baikum Rabbi Zira. Shmuel Barabba has from Rabbi Zira. A katan cheresh mal. What about a katan who's a cheresh? Katan who's deaf or mute. What's his status? Sheikhai. Maybe is he chayv in Riyah? So Amar Leisa said, Isa Chamei, come and see. Yatziva Ba'ara. You're going to be a citizen on the land. This is a statement which also this is an exclamation of astonishment, which also is found in the Bible from time to time when something makes no sense because it's completely removed from reality. So it said you are a permanent resident of the land, but you're b'shmei shmaya, you want to be a sojourner in the heavens of the heavens. In other words, how can you contemplate such a thing? You want, if a cheresh gadol is potter, so only a cheresh katan is potter, right? Right? If an adult deaf or mute is potter, katan cheresh l'koshkin is surely a minor deaf or mute should be potter as well. Rabbi Yirmiyah said, "B'dina ya katan v'lo cheresh." You know what? Listen, let's look at it logically, or rather, from the logic of the Rabbanans. B'dina, logic would have compelled us, katan v'lo cheresh, that even a minor who's not a deaf or mute, potter should be exempt. Because he's a minor, it's potter from all mitzvahs. Gzeras ha'kosavu. It's a decree of the Torah. Kol schurcha l'rabbis is a katan. So therefore I would have said, this is the logic of the question, ilu. Now the next word you have here is gadol. Everybody goes crazy here, the Ritbaz, the Mechamayim, the Tzorach HaShulchan, others trying to explain the word and how it fits in. the Ksavi, the Leiden manuscript, has Katan instead of Gadol.
Oh, really?
It's crossed out. As remember, I told you the fellow who owned the manuscript, whoever was not too bright, he crossed out everything where the Leiden manuscript was different than the print. But listen, if it's Katan, without going through the long Ridbaz here, it makes a lot of sense. This is the way to read it. What he's saying is, again, he says, it says this because it's called Schul Rabbit's Katan. I would have said, Ilu Katan Cheresh, even if a Katan is a Cheresh, Yechayev ish bichayev sholach lok bilchos schurcha, in order not to draw a distinction in between schurchas. Because what rabbinic principle is that? Lo pluk. In other words, Rabbi was saying the premise of the question was, once the Torah itself says a katan is chayiv, so we would have said lo pluk. Rabbanon, when they came along, they said in order not to start drawing distinction between one katan and another katan and sowing confusion, because after all, many katanim are not fully capable of understanding things or teaching things, so they just made a relevant principle whether he's a cherish or not to bring him anyway.
Yeah, but then you're making a distinction between one cherish and another cherish, between an adult cherish and a child cherish.
That may be, but it's better to make that possible mistake than to make the mistake of pattering up katanim. Because bear in mind, katanim are chayiv d'oraisa. So better to be mechayiv katanim to some katanim who are potter, in order to make sure that those who are chayiv d'oraisa come, than to worry that if I'm mechayiv some cherishim will come even though they're potter. That's much less of a concern. Okay? So that's, heavy tzurcha lahu dam Rabbi Yossi. So that's why I had to say Rabbi Yossi's svara. In other words, since there's a logic to say lo pluk, and we don't draw a distinction all times should be chayiv if they're cheshim. That's why we say there's a lot. That's why I need to come out to Rabbi Yossi's svara. Rabbi Yossi said, "Me'achar shekasav echol marbe v'kasav echol emayit." So it's one pasuk is the inclusion, one pasuk is the exclusion. Marbe is katan. So therefore, even Chazal remained with the sentiment that I include ketanim who are shuroi level achazman, who's eventually going to become suitable to become chayiv, to be shomei loimed, even though right now he's not yet shomei of loimed 100%. It's a cherish I preclude cherishim shuroi level achazman, who will never become chayiv, and therefore a katan cherish, even though right now he's a katan, since he himself, this individual, as you said before, is then going to become chayiv, so therefore he's exempt. Rabbanan did not exercise the principle of lo pluk here. Okay?
I was just going to ask, but you answered if the katan cheresh.
1 second. Lo plug means that they didn't draw distinction. The steamroller, or even a katan, any type of minor would be chayiv. Yeah.
Katan cheresh is chayiv now, or we said that there is. Okay, we don't draw.
Our question was maybe we should say it's chayiv, or conclusion say.
So I was going to ask what happens when the katan cheresh grows up.
Right, because he doesn't be right. So that would have been the possibility. If there would have been, had we passed the katan cheresh with potter, then later we're chayiv, and later on he would be potter when he grew up. But no, we don't make this. Deaf or mute, either or both. Tumtum. Now, tumtum is of course somebody who doesn't have any identifying signs of being male or female. However, you can rip him open and then you'll find out whether he's male or female.
Then is he no longer tumtum?
Then he's no longer tumtum, right. So, but right now we don't know what he is. So what the tumtum is exempt from coming to Riyas Panim, right? He doesn't come. The question is, why not? And the Bible says, because he's not, you have to have schurcha. He's not schurcha, he's not male. The Yerushalmi says, because we don't know what he is. It's not because, maybe he is a zocher, but right now I don't know, right? So it says I don't know until I open him up. So therefore he's potter. Now, Hakol Modim, here the Yerushalmi, as you see here from the monumental Tesis read down here, which I did not read, to be honest with you. There's obviously some difficulty here. However, with the Siyata Dishmaya, I found a very nice shot here. So, Hakol Modim Tumtum. Everybody agrees that a Tumtum Shenikra, who got ripped open, they performed an operation on it. The Nim Tzazach is found to be male. Yontav Rishon, and they perform this operation on Yontav Rishon. Don't ask me about it's Yontav, how can you do this? This is theoretical. Okay? Don't ask questions like that. The name says Zachar Yontav Rishon, Shu Chayev. He has to come. Now he's Chayev. Both in Riyas Panim and Riyas Korban. He has to come to the base. I make the shot, he has to bring a korban. Okay? Mapli in the Machlekes is, when's Machlekes? B'shar Yomim. When he got opened up on the other days. When he got opened up on the second day, let's say, or the third day, or the fourth day, the fifth day. So then what's his status? Chizki Amar Yeroeh. There are two places where it talks about Yeroeh. And there were two places. One of them talks about coming to the Beis Hamikdash in order to what we call Riyas Panim, to come and be seen by Hashem. And the other is Yered, you're Chayiv and Korban, right? So somebody, that's Yeros Korban. So somebody who's Shaykh to one is Shaykh to the other. So the fellow who's a Tumtum, the first day, he was exempt and found to be a Tumtum he was found to be a Zohar on the second day. He was found to be a male second day. So the first day he was exempt. Right? He's not Chayiv to come. And Riyas Panim is only the first day. Either you come the first day Yontif or you cancel the mitzvah. Yes. There's no Tashlumin. For Korban there's Tashlumin. To bring the Korban, but Riyas Panim you have to be there the first day of Yontif, no matter what.
What about Shmini Atzeres?
Well, it's a separate din, right? There's Chayav Regel with Natzel, but Sukkot and Pesach, you have to be the first day. So therefore, as you Chayav, but Rishon you're Chayav on the first day, Riyas Panim Chayav b'Sheni you're Chayav on the second day on Riyas Korban. But if you're not Chayav the first day because you weren't ripped on the first and second day, you're not Chayav the second day in Korban either. That's Chizkiah Shita. Amar Rabbi, it should be Amar Rabbi Yochanan. Several of them before should fix it up. Amar Rabbi Yochanan Kol Shiva Tashlumin Rishon. All 7 days are Tashlumin for the first day. Now, you might think that he agrees with Chizkiah. And in fact, the Korban Eider changes it changes the gears to later in the Gemara to have Rabbi Yochanan and Chizkiah go together, as does the Meichal Mayim. But the Pnei Moshe and the Ridbaz and Beckhofer all say that it's not the case. That Rabbi Yochanan argues on Chizkiah. And that's the way the Girsa will read Pasha Girsa later on. And the Gemara explains, as Ridbaz says in the next line, Om Rabbi Ilam Pesach Sheni Lomad Rabbi Yochanan. Rabbi Yochanan went for Pesach Sheni. Kamad Rabbi Yochanan Amar Tzalman, just like Rabbi Yochanan said over there, Pesach Sheni Tashlumin Rishon. Pesach Sheni is the Tashlumin. It's a makeup for the first date. Keno Maracha, so too he says here, Kol Shiva, all 7 days, Tashlumin the Rishon, they're all Tashlumin, they all make up for the first day. Now, this is not the type of Tashlumin you think. Normally, that Tashlumin should mean, if I miss the first day, I make up the next day. But that means that I really have to be Shaykh the first day to the mitzvah in order to make up the next day. Because otherwise there's no makeup, right? That's how the Korban Eider learns. But it's not what it means here. And there's a very interesting Rambam. The Rambam says that by Korban Pesach, Rambam says that if you miss Pesach Rishon, and there's Rabbi Yila's drawing parallel. Rambam says you miss Pesach Rishon because you're shogeg or onus, and you don't make Pesach Sheni either. B'mezid, you're Chayav Koris. If you miss Pesach Rishon because you're Tameh in Pesach Rishon, or you're B'derech Rechok, you're far away from Yerushalmi, and you don't make Pesach Sheni, you're Pater from Koris. So the Raven goes crazy, says, what's going on here? What's the difference between the first case and the second case? If when you're Shogeg or Onus on Pesach Rishon, and then you intentionally don't make Pesach Sheni, you're Chayav Koris. So if you're Tameh or far away from Yerushalmi on Pesach Rishon, you don't make Pesach Sheni, you should be Chayav Koris. What's the chiluk? So I'm telling you, based on this Gemara, the chiluk is very good. This is based really on the Ridbaz. That Pesach Sheni is a Tashlumin for Pesach Rishon, but it's a Regel Bifnei Atzmo as well. It's both. And you see with this, you can look at the bottom here, the very bottom, the Tuv Yerushalayim asks a question. The Tuv Yerushalayim asks, this is how I found this Rambam. Bikatu Amot Shitas Ram Bichus Korban Pesach, Perakei Alocha, it's really Alocha base, the Pesach Sheni Regel Bifnei Atzmo. Well, came the Pasach Khan Pesach Rishon. Okay, since we draw parallel here, Pesach Rishon Chagigah, the Tashlumin the Rishon, that Pesach Rishon and Chagigah are Tashlumin, but just like I was going to play came Pasach Khan Perak Aleph Chagigah. Sorry, since around Paskins by the first parak of Chagigah that all the rest of the days you don't have Tashlumin they make up for the first day. Can have a leaf so Gam Shah. Why is he Paskin there the same way? We know the leaf so Shalok Rabbi Ilah. How can us pass Rabbi Ilah? Pesach Sheni is also Tashlumin. For Raya Divrei Ravid, that's a Goysim Sham. And Yerushalayim goes so far in limit to say the Ravid must be right. It says here it's a Tashlumin. So what should mean if it's Tashlumin? Tashlumin should mean you should always be parted from Kores. As long as you're a Shoygeg or Anus on Pesach Rishon, even you're Mason on Pesach Sheni, Pesach Rishon, you were off the hook. You didn't transgress it intentionally. So if it's tashlumin for the Rishon, whatever you want in the Rishon should exempt you from being chayiv kores on the Sheni. So why the Rambam say you're chayiv kores if you don't make Pesach Sheni and you were only shogeg or onus on Pesach Rishon? So I think the pshat is like this. The pshat is that the Pesach Sheni is both a tashlumin and a regel b'fnei atzmo. What does that mean? The Gemara is really going to explain. We'll see in a minute. The Gemara is going to explain what that means. First Gemara says, Rabbi Yeshua, third shita. Rabbi Yeshua, kol shiva chayvahein. Kol shiva chayvahein. Each of the 7 days is its own independent obligation. Separate. Each day is separate. There's no tashlumin. Each of the 7 days is independent. Man afi peneim. What's the difference between the opinions? Ger shnis gar b'shar yomim. A ger became a ger in the middle of Pesach, let's say. So going to Chizkiah is potter. He wasn't chai the first day. He's not chai in the other days either, right? Chizkiah holds everything goes after the first day. If you potter the first day, you remain potter for the rest of Yontif.
What about Pesach Sheni for the Ger?
That's going to be nafkamina too. Or Sameach actually speaks about that. Al daiti the Rabbi Yochanan, Rabbi Yeshua, according to Rabbi Yochanan, Rabbi Yeshua, even though it's tashlumin, you're chayiv. Okay? Now that's, again, here the Korban A changes it. He puts Rabbi Yochanan in the camp of Chizkiah, because he can't imagine a tashlumin of separate days. You see, his problem is he thinks that Chizkiah and Rabbi Yochanan got to go together. But that's not what the Gemara holds. The Gemara holds that the Rabbi Yochanan's tashlumin are unique. And the Gemara is going to explain that. Af b'tamei, the same thing as the same halach is true of a tamei. Tapu gimel amrav. Af b'tamei. This next word, almost all of them Farshim Sheni should be nitar b'shar yomim. You were tamei the first day. It became tar one of the other days. Al daiti the Chizkiah potter. You're exempt, right? Because the first day you're a tamei, so now the rest of the yontiv you're potter. Al daiti Rabbi Yochanan, Rabbi Yeshua chayiv the other days, and same is true about a ger as well. Rabbi Yesi, Rabbi Yesi. Now comes the punchline. Rabbi Yesi says, and Rabbi Yesi is coming to explain that tumtum is different. He says tumtum tamon roihu. By tumtum, he was really roy the first day, but we didn't know that. Kriya shagarmo. We had to rip him open. Now that we ripped him open, what do we know? We wrote retroactively he was roy the first day. Just we didn't see that he was roy. But he was roy the first day, right? True, he was roy the first day. So, Biram Hacha, but here, Hatamei Atzmo no Ra'ui. Somebody who's Tamei or again on the first day of Yontif, he's not roy, he's not suitable. So therefore, even Rabbi Yochanan would agree, not necessarily Rabbi Yeshua, because Rabbi Yeshua holds each day is independent, but even Rabbi Yochanan would agree that there's a difference between a tumtum and from one side and a ger and a tum on the other side. The tumtum Rabbi Yochanan, he's arguing what we just said before. He'd say a tumtum Rabbi Yochanan would is what Rabbi Yochanan disagrees with Chizkiah. He goes, even though it's a tumtum on the first day, but nevertheless when you rip him open he becomes chayiv. Because he really was chayiv even the first day. It's just you didn't know that. However, a person who's tamei or a ger on the first day, so later on he's panim chadashos. That which becomes chayiv is a new thing. It wasn't there on the first day, and since the rest of the days are tashlumin, so therefore he cannot become chayiv middle of the yontif. Now Chizkiah will hold regardless you're not chayiv, because since on the first day we got off even on a technicality, but since the first day we're chayiv, you can't be chayiv the rest of the time. Rabbi Yeshua will hold regardless you're chayiv no matter what, because he holds each day it's separate. Rabbi Yochanan holds that has to do with whether you were potter be'etzem the first day, or you were potter just because we didn't know. So it's mamish the same thing like the Rambam paskins by Pesach. What is the Rambam paskin by Pesach? He holds a Pesach Sheni vis-a-vis Pesach Rishon is the same parameter as this halacha of the other days of Yom Tov vis-a-vis the first day. Therefore, somebody who the first days of Pesach was shoygeg or nanas, he was going to make Korban Pesach that year, right? He just couldn't get there for some reason, right? He was in the Parsha making Korban Pesach, so there he just couldn't get it. So therefore, for him, Pesach Sheni, right? The Pesach Sheni he must make because he made Pesach Sheni it's chayav kores. But the guy who's tamei, which is like the tamei over here, right? He wasn't the Parsha. And by Pesach, a special halacha, because the Torah says that Isha Tasher Tomei or B'derech or Chayka, it's a big chiddush by Pesach, but the Torah gives it, that person Derech Chayka, he's considered to be a unique kind of onus vis-a-vis Pesach, that he's not B'Torah making Pesach that year. So therefore, if he misses Pesach Sheni, he's off the hook. So it's mamish the same sugya. The Rambam, I would say that everybody, or Sameach, I saw, he doesn't know where the Rambam got his halacha from. But I hold the Rambam got his halacha mamish from the sugya, because it's mamish doime b'doime. I would not have known except for this two Yerushalmi's question on the bottom, where he says it's a raya for the Ravid. But at the Rabbah, he paskins like Rabbi Yochanan. It's consistent the Rambam. Paskins like Rabbi Yochanan by Chagigah, and like the two Yerushalmi says, they paskin Rabbi Yochanan by Pesach Sheni as well. That the halacha is that it's a special type of tashlumin. It's a tashlumin where the first day you were chayav betzem, but we didn't know. In other words, there's a p'tur riding on top of you, preventing you from doing it. Then you're chayav the rest of Yontif with whatever ramifications that has. However, if the p'tur on the first day of Yontif was be'etzem, and so if the pura Pesach Rishon is be'etzem, then you can't be chayav the rest of Yontif the same way, and you can't be chayav, of course, by a Korban Pesach. Mesuki mitvash.
Right.
Okay, so
it's a real Yerushalmi thing.
it's totally out of left field, but they really go together. What?
Lieberman would have
Lieberman would have Only Lieberman.
Back in.
No, not at all.
All right.
You wrote a whole book on the Rambam's based upon Yerushalmi.
Yeah.
Mitzvah supports it.
Mm-hmm. It's true. It's well known that the Rambam, many things Rambam does based on Yerushalmi. Okay, Androgonus. I forgot I was going to write down the. I was going to make a note. I have my. I was going to make a note about the. What's some now? Okay. Androgonus. Now, the Androgonus is always the Tumtum's buddy. You know, they call it in the cynical circles, they call the Minchas Chinuch Sefer Tumtum Androgonus. Because the Minchas Chinuch on every mitzvah Torah asks, what's the status of a Tumtum and Androgonus in this mitzvah? So, in any event, Androgonus, Tumtum, they're always going to get Androgonus, has both the parameters of male and female. Kol schurcha, skip line. Kol schurcha prat landregnus. It says all there have to be a home all males. Now it's not clear from making the judgment from the kol with the word schurcha or not necessarily. But schurcha means a male prat landregnus, as opposed to an androgynous individual who is not really a male or not completely a male. Times we learned over there, Masechta Shabbos. Suffix of a kid is born twilight, Erev Shabbos and Motzei Shabbos, and an Androgonus, Eimechan Lovis or Shabbos, don't make bris milah on him the following Shabbos, right? Because his suffix is obviously we don't know if he's what his status was, and if he's an Androgonus, then of course we don't know if he's a male or not to give him bris milah. Ravina Mati Androgonus. Ravina says you're allowed to make an Androgonus as bris milah on Shabbos. That's the way it is. I mean, he is a male. He's male plus, but he's male. So Ma'amar Kor Rabbi Yehuda. So what's Rabbi Yehuda going to say by Chagigah, by Re'iyah and by Chagigah? The Shmei Mi'adol, let's hear from here. Rabbi Yochanan ben Davoy b'Shem Rabbi Yehuda said, Af hasuma. A suma, even a blind person is pater from Re'iyah. Okay? So that's going in our mission where it said everybody's pater from Re'iyah, and it said in Androgonus. And then Yochanan ben Davoy said, Rabbi Yehuda says, also a blind man. So Leis Barnash Amar Av, a person doesn't say and also Elodu Moidi al Karmais unless he concedes it to everything which went before that. So therefore Rabbi Yehuda, who Yochanan ben Davoy is quoting, must concede that an Androgonus, as mentioned in our Mishnah, is pater from Chagigah. So asking more, of course, the natural next question. Machav that's Rabbi Yehuda's contradiction. Rabbi Yehuda, Tamon, meaning by us, who are prat. Here he excludes an Androgonus from Re'iyah, right? V'acha, meaning by bris milah, Amar l'Rabos, he says to include an Androgonus in bris milah. So which one is it? So it says, I'll tell you. Rabbi Rabbanan Mikra Echarein Darshim. Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbanan, they both darshan the same psukim. Rabbanan Darshim Orel. Rabbanan Darshan says, a person who's Orel, who has not yet been circumcised, gets circumcised on Shabbos. Matam Loma Orel Zachar. right? So obviously talking about males. Why does it say an orel zachar, an uncircumcised male? They didn't think of female circumcision. They didn't have such concepts, right? So if that's the case, why does it say orel zachar? Achiyeh kulo zachar. It's got to be that he's completely a male. Okay, so that's how they dash it by androgynous. Right? Because zachar, the dashins no, the other rabba. It says zachar, a male. Matam lama orel. So why does it have to say orel? We know it's talking about a male. So why is it also he's an orel? Afilu, so he says matam orel, vafilu mikza, so orel. Means even if he only is a quasi orel or partial orel, because he's androgynous, nevertheless is bris milas dechor Shabbos. Brahmacha, that's over there. However, here everybody agrees close the churacha prat androgynous comes to preclude androgynous. Okay, nashim. Why women? For example, close churacha prat nashim also comes to include women. Zachar. Avodim. What about slaves? Nishmina minado. Starting from here. Shalosh pamim yoeh kol zchurcha. Now it's actually missing in the pasuk, which is critical. It's shalosh pamim yoeh kol zchurcha. It's pnei Adon Hashem, the Master God, right? Eshe ein lo Adon ela Kodesh Baruch Hu. Only people who have no other master except for Kodesh Baruch Hu, they're chayiv in riyah. You ought to have it as opposed to an evet sheyesh lo Adon acher. He's got another master, his own master. So if he's exempt from going to riyah because he doesn't have the one other of Hashem. Or maybe Hashem will leave a little bit of Agadata. I haven't had that in a while. Or we should leave Minayin should call him Kaim Mitzvahs Riyah. Kaim tell you fulfills the Mitzvah Riyah. Kill him Makbil Pnei Shechina. It's as if he greets the Shechina because he's going to the Beis Hamikdash on Yontif and the divine presence is there. Minada, because the pasuk says Shalosh Ba'amim Ba'Shana 3 times here Yeroeh Kol Zchurcha. All your males should be seen, but here we dash and also you they will see as Pnei Adon Hashem, the countenance of the Master Hashem. Okay, a chigir, a person whose name is pater from going to Alila Regel. You see regalim, it says regalim. What's a regel? Walks, right? Well, walks. So oh shayla nachraim, can you be yotzei? No, trains. Nowadays planes. You tell you the regular with a train or a plane. Because there's a regular.
At what point of your old regular arrive at the threshold? Is there a certain line?
Harabayus. You got to walk on Harabayus.
Gemara is actually going to deal with it.
Train or the plane to the...
No, but the question is whether every mitzvah, you makai the mitzvah, you makai the mitzvah as you walk up to Yerushalayim. That's a mitzvah alila regel. What happens if you drive up to Yerushalayim? The kind of mitzvah when you're in the car or not? That's really what we're asking. Okay? So now, the same thing is true they talk about when you go to shul. It says you get schar psios for going to shul. So you get schar psios if you're going in your car. Same idea. Okay? Okay, so cholet. A sick person is part of a riyah. Why? So in the Bible it also says because of regalim, because he can't walk. And here it says d'chsiv v'samachta. So he should be happy, and he's depressed. So he's chayla. So since he's chayla and he's not besimcha, so therefore he doesn't have to go up to Yerushalayim.
What if he feels better psychologically?
What?
If he feels better, gets psychologically.
Well, that's I guess that might be an interesting nafkamina, but the two Yerushalayim in the bottom gives a nafkamina of a case who's the guy is depressed but he can walk, right? So the Bible will say he's chayav, but the argument will say he's pater, right? Because he's depressed, he doesn't have to go.
Well, he's pater, but he could still go.
Yeah, but he doesn't have to, right? Obviously, right. Zakein d'chsiv regalim, but Zakein pater because it says regalim meaning he can walk. Rabbi Yosef said tartein lekula. I drew this. I combined both drushes together, and I go after both ends to be makel. Yochli smach v'enu yochel he can rejoice, but he can't walk. Korani love regalim. I exempt him from going because it says regalim, even though he'll be happy there. Yochel v'enu yochli smach, he can walk, but he ain't going to be happy. So Korani love the samachta. I exempt him because it says samachta. He's not going to be happy. Rabbi Yochanan Shem Rabbi Yani has said, Beishalim Beisil Mikra Echonim Dorshim. Yerushalmi and Beisil have a machlokas in our Mishnah. They had a machlokas how young cotton is chayiv. So Beishalim holds even one which has to be carried. It's chayiv to come to Re'iyah. Beisil says only one which can walk, holding onto his father's hand. So they both dash in the same pasuk. B'Shamay Kosev Echad Omer Zchurcha. One pasuk says males. Because of Echad Omer Regalim, the other says, which sounds like even very young children, as long as they're male. The other pasuk says Regalim. You have to be able to walk. So Tov Bein Asayim, make a compromise, literally cast between the two of them. If anybody can ride on his father's shoulders. Says Gemara, what? I didn't even necessarily say everybody can ride their father's shoulders. What's the big deal? Says Gemara, now the Mashgiach turns around the next two words, which I think is probably true. Means somebody who runs away when he sees his father's shoulders. Not physically, not because I feel he's probably because he's nervous. He doesn't want to ride on his father's shoulders. He doesn't like the height. So that's the difference between an individual who's caught in his chayiv and caught his part of Beis Shammai. Anybody who can get on the shoulders is chayiv. Anybody who's too frightened to get on the shoulders, he's potter. Beisil darshim kos. Beisil darshim same pasuk. Kosev Echad one pasuk says churcha, males. Kosev Echad Regalim, you can walk. Tov Bein Asayim, so take between the two of them, Eshu Yochel Lechos B'Yado Sharav, something you can kill down to his father's hand and be dragged, so to speak, to the Beis HaMikdash. Olina Taros Ato Omer. In terms of Taros, you have a similar principle. Eshu Tafos B'Yado Aviv, a kid who's holding on to his father's hands. Sfeiko Kipikech. He has a suffix Tumor Shusa Yochid, so his suffix you have to be machmir on it because he's considered to be already sufficiently intelligent. And the reason why this is so is because we have a principle by Tuma, suffix Tuma, that if yesh bodas li shoel, if the individual who's involved has the intelligence to answer questions, so then you have to be machmir on the Tuma. When main bodas li shoel doesn't have the intelligence to answer questions, you don't have to be machmir on the Tuma. So you were saying that vis-a-vis Tuma and Tara, so it depends. If he's holding onto his father's hand, so then he's like a mature individual. So therefore, whatever you ask him, he will abide by, and whatever he touches, suffix tummy. Avi Tavis Biyada, however, his father has to lead him by the hand, because not yet mature enough to walk, to, so to speak, lead his father. So then, Spekel Cherish, you have a suffix, whether he did it or not. So we assume it's like cherish, meaning we don't know what happened, right? It's silent. Bramhacha, but over here, Benkachu Benkach Chayev. Here Beisil says no matter, even if he's very young, even if he has to ride on the shoulders, you're still Chayev. No. Sorry. Even if, no matter who's holding on to whose hand, whether the father's holding it to the son's hand or the son to the father's hand, you're still Chayev. Because Beisil says Tafos Biyada means no matter who's holding on, even if he's very young, that he's still chayiv as long as he can walk, self-propelled, holding on to his father's hand. Okay? It says the Gemara, Raibun Barachia Boy Kram Yizir. Raibun Barachia asked for Yizir, Hechon you marim panim? Where does Riyas panim take place? Where is the place where it fundamentally becomes the mitzvah? Barabais, when you get to the Temple Mount, or Azoros in the courtyards of the Beis HaMikdash, which is much farther in. Or Malaysia said to him, let's hear from here. It says that Tomei Potter min Hariyah. Person's Tomei is Potter from the Riyah altogether. The Chesiv it says Vasa Shoma ve'avesim Shoma. You have to come there and bring there. Ve'in Tomei meis nichlas la'arabais. Tomei meis can't enter the Temple Mount. Right? I'm sorry, it's a question. It's me. Sorry. That's what Ve'in Tomei meis nichlas la'arabais. Wait a minute. So can't the Tomei meis go into Arabais? Where's the Tomei meis not allowed to go to? Tazora, but he's allowed in Arabais. So what's the problem? Tomei meis and be chayiv in Riyah, right? But Damaras Matijas Bazara, oh, you might point that Riyah is only in Nazara, because otherwise the Tomei meis could come for Riyah. Okay, Meichel Modi. Now it says a cotton god from Yerushalmi to Arbayis, going to Beis Shammai, even on his father's shoulders, going to Beisil, walking with his father, he's chayiv in Riyah. Meichel Modi. Where do you count going up to Arbayis from outside the city or from inside the city? Okay, Mina Choyma, Mina Batim. From the walls or from the houses. The walls is toward the outside or, at the outer point, or from the houses which are further in. Says Martin neither Yishua or Shiloach. You count from the Shiloach. Now Shiloach, I don't know if you're familiar, of course you're familiar. The Yerushalayim goes down from the Shara Ashbos and then rises up again to the Temple Mount. Goes down to the Sharash, but think of coming from the Rova. Right? You're coming down all the stairs or going down the street, so it's going down and then comes up again. So it used to be the Shiloach River, Shiloach Pool's waters were diverted into the Yerushalmi at that point, where it reaches a low point. So therefore, that's called Mina Shiloach. So if you can, he has to be able to get. It's a chumrah really, because you're not going all the way from Yerushalmi to the Har Bayis, because there's a deep valley separating Yerushalayim and the rest of Har Bayis, where now Parat Yosef and all those other institutions are built up. There used to be a valley, an open valley there, right? So if you say you go from the Shiloach, what? So if you say you go from the Shiloach, so then it's much closer in, and it's bigger chumrah, because then even kids who can't walk as far are chayiv, and that's what it seems it's the way you pass it. Rabun Rechia Boykum Rabbi Zera. Rabun Rechia asked for Rabbi Zera. Mal l'shalech Chagigah subiyarach. He's saying Chagigah, and somebody says also your carbon Riyah is the Shiloh, but I don't see it now. I thought somebody says that. Anyway, the question is whether you can send your Chagigah, right? So the question is, all those guys who are potter from Re'iyah on our Mishnah, are they also potter Chagigah, or do they have to send it? Okay, that's really the question. So says the Gemara, Mal Chagigah subiyarachar Amalei. So he said Nishmin Minado. Let's hear from here. Mukei Shchin. It says people who are smitten by boils. Pulpacin, and people are pulpacin, they have chronic body odor or mouth odor. So these are vile individuals. Okay, people are smitten with skin diseases, and people smitten with all sorts of odorous. So they're exempt from Riyah. Why? They'll see now here. Both the two Yerushalayim and Shai Teretz so change the psukim. So instead, they're supposed to be here to bring the pasuk a line down. It says the chsiv. Bevok Yisrael rose. When all of Am Yisrael comes to be seen in the Beis HaMikdash. Hagoy Lavoy Yisrael maybe somebody can come with the rest of the Jews. He brings carbon Chagigah. She'ena Goy, somebody can't come Lavoy Yisrael. Ena maybe, and he can't come with all of Kaisel. You know why he can't come with all of Kaisel? These guys, the Mukashchin and the Bar Pulipus, they smell. Right, so therefore they can't come with everybody else, right? So therefore they're parted from the carbon. Now, Hatame pater min agriya. The tame is parted from the carbon riyah and from the higa benefits as well. The chsiv it says, and again we switch around the pasuk. Ubasa shama ve'avesim shama. Only somebody who can come there is chayav to bring, but he can't come. He's tame, so therefore he's parted from bringing as well, right? Says the Gemara.
Struck me as just being an interesting drasha. You know, Haroy Lovo in Yisrael.
Yeah.
Whereas normally a chiv or a patur is a discussion in that person or that category in itself.
Yeah.
This is really from everybody else's perspective. Everybody's it's like a.
It is an interesting drasha, right? Usually the patur would be be'etzem.
Right.
Here it has to do with the mikra. All guys who could hold their noses and then they can go with the guy. Right. It is interesting. Yeah, you're right. I agree with you. So I didn't want to pay attention before, but it's true. It's interesting. Maybe it's some sort of Yerushalmi type drasha. So anyway, so says the Gemara. Now the question is obviously, V'yishlach Chagigah subiyarach. Instead it's Chagigah with somebody else. Rabbi Yosef says, so Samer she'enu b'shleich Chagigah subiyarach. You can't say your Chagigah with anybody else. Rabbi Simi boy asks, chiluf. Let's turn around the psukim. Mukei Shchin Pulipsim P'tuim Min Ariyah. Let them be Patur Mariyah D'chsiv. And here again we turn around the psukim because we turn around the previous one. We turn around this way one as well. D'chsiv it says Ubasim Shama Ve'avesim Shama. Somebody can come, they can bring, right? And these guys can't come because they stink, right? And a Tomei Patur Mariyah. Let's say the guy who's Tomei is Patur Mariyah. D'chsiv because it says what's the pasuk again? Boka Yisrael Liros. When Rav Yisrael comes, and he can't come, right? So says the Gemara, Chazer Rabbi Simi reneged on this proposal. V'mari said, Mukei Shchin, look, Mukei Shchin, Abishen Ruim Lovon Kol Yisrael, Ruim Hein Lovo Lifnei Atzmam. Even though they can't come with all of Am Yisrael, they can come by themselves. So therefore, you can't say that Uvasa Shama Vavesim Shama pertains to them, because they can come. We'll make them special hours, right? The Shmek Dorten hours. So there's the famous Kotzker, one of the infamous Kotzkers, he said. It says, Mokum Shabali Tshuva the main Tzaddik and Gemurim Oindim. So he says, Weil Shmek Dorten, because it stinks there. Very anti-Baal Tshuva perspective of the Kotzker. But, so here we'll have for the Mukei Shchin and the Baal Plipsim, we'll have their special Shmek Dorten hours. So it says the Gemara, so it must be, so obviously, so therefore the reason for them can't be because of Basim Shem Avesim Shem, because they can't come, but rather because they can't come with all of Klal Yisrael. Okay? As opposed to Atame, low roy, ain't a roy, it should be ain't a roy. Ain't a roy is not suitable, low bifnei atzah, low and Klal Yisrael, and therefore the Basim, which is passes, which is proper for use to him, is the Basim Shem Avesim Shem, because he can never come. Period. Hivish Chagigah. New issue. You separate Sai Korban Chagigah. Oh, here the Mechach Maim says also the Re'iyah, the same Shiloh. So the Bavli actually has no Shiloh about this. It says the heirs bring, but here the Yir'eh Yero'eh, meaning Haroi Lavo. Some of you can come, Riyah's party. Maybe he brings Korban Riyah. Shein Haroi Lavo, if he dropped dead, right? He can't come anymore. So therefore, maybe he can't bring, the Korban cannot be brought, neither by him nor by anybody else. Rabbi Zir said, Kihi Rabbi Yochanan, Rabbi Yonason, like that which Rabbi Yochanan, Rabbi Yonason, Tarvayin, mean they both said, Kol b'Korbanecha tivdeh. It says all of your children, all the firstborn of your children should redeem. And then we say, Afilu achar miso. Then we say, even after death, you have to redeem them, right? In other words, your estate is responsible for the redemption of your son. It says, my face and my countenance should not be seen empty, even after death, which is a very strange thing, but it sounds like it's a din in the chefts of Yontif, not a din in the Gavra. The Gavra is already dead. But since Yontif, you're not supposed to be seen Reikam, so anything which is separated for the purpose of Yontif is brought on Yontif despite the fact that the owner is dead. So it's really a din in the Yontif and being as opposed to a din in the person being able to bring it. Okay? Says Gemara, Amar Bar Memo. Bar Memo said, now according to some unfortunately this is a continuation. But the easy way to learn is according to the Mashbiach and the Mechamayim, that's a separate sugya, which is brought down here, just piggyback on top of the first one, because they're similar, but not because there's any inherent connection. Says Gemara, Rabbi Bar Memo said, Machlokas Shmuel of Rabbi Yochanan. There's a Machlokas for Shmuel Rabbi Yochanan. We learned over there. Woman brought a chatos. Now this is the Oledes or Zava. So she brought a chatos of Mesa and she died. Yavir Yoshim Ola. So her heirs bring her Ola. However, Ola so Mesa, if she brought her Ola but not her chatos, Levi Orshim chatos, so they can't bring her chatos. Why? Because ain't chatos lachar Mesa. There's no chatos after the death of the person involved. He's getting his comeuppance in Gehenna.
It serves no purpose.
Right. Okay? See, it's too late. So Shmuel said, "B'mfureshes." It's only if the only time you you're mocked of the oil after the death of the owner is if it's already set aside for that purpose. Rabbi Yochanan feel ain't b'mfureshes. No, even if it wasn't set aside. So says more. That's all the brisa. Monica, and what are we talking about? In b'shiur karka, if they inherited land, right? So then Bahad Amar Shmuel b'mufreshes. And this Shmuel would say only if it was designated. The land as a shibud, just like land as shibud karkos for loans, for avos, so to land as shibud karkos for korbanos. Korbanos are a form of obligations to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So therefore, if they inherited land, they have to bring a korban for sure. Even both according to Shmuel and Rabbi Yochanan, right? But they don't have Shmuel b'mufreshes. Wouldn't that, because Shmuel say only if it's designated for that purpose? And only if the korban is already designated, and vice versa. If all the heirs inherited was movable objects, but Rabbi Yochanan feel ain't move freshest. How could Rabbi Yochanan possibly entertain the notion that even one to separate your chayav? Metalchlin are never mishtabit. They don't become shuva. They don't become under lien even for the purpose of korban. Says the Gemara, I'll tell you where the case is. There's a difference. What's a nafkimina? Yoshu karka. In the case where they inherited land. So what's the distinction? Al daitish according to Shmuel, litvoa, to demand of them, it should be tovim, not ein tovim. We do the korban fixes. So we demanded them payments, right? If they inherited land. Mashkin, but we don't compel payment. In other words, we don't take away from them if they refuse to give it. Al dait to Rabbi Yochanan, that's according to Shmuel, right? Rabbi Yochanan said, no. Aflam mashkin and mashkinin. We even compel them to pay. Yerushalmi Chagigah, what if they inherited movable objects? Al dait to Rabbi Yochanan, according to Rabbi Yochanan, litvoa, even we can demand l'mashkin and mashkinin. We can request, but we cannot compel. Even to demand, we're not allowed to demand. Right? Because Shmuel says the only time you actually are allowed to make demands is when you when it's similar to a milva b'shtar, right? And milva b'shtar means that milva b'shtar means you can demand payment based on the lien which you have, but in milva pay you cannot demand payment. And this is, he's saying, a similar case to milva pay, and therefore you cannot demand payments, you cannot demand restitution of the korban. So the bottom line is, we're talking always about where there is land. Rabbi Yochanan holds the fact that there's land is enough to compel him to give the korban, which his deceased mother vowed to bring, was required to bring, because any liens, even vis-a-vis korbanos, go down with the land. According to Shmuel, no. Liens don't go with the land for korbanos. Maybe for avos, yes, but not for korbanos. And therefore, you can't even demand of the heir the payment. If he wants to make it out of the magnanimous, because of his magnanimous gesture, that's his problem. We can't demand payment for him. Okay, I won't demand any more time with you tonight.